Welcome to the Finance Report. I'm David Wilkinson alongside Mallory Hoff and our guest, Mike Kinnett.
And over the next half hour, we'll be breaking down the keys to having a successful retirement. This will include taxes, income protection, and so much more.
That's right. So we're now pleased to be joined by Mike Kinnett, the president of ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, an Orlando area firm that focuses on preparing people for a successful retirement. Mike is also a popular radio show host. So Mike, we have a lot to dive into, but let's start with taxes. What do you believe the future of taxes looks like for retirees?
Bleak.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, bleak. I think if you think about the debt and what we're spending as a country, taxes have to go up at some point. And we know they go up in 2026, but they're going to go up more dramatically in the future, and retirees need to be prepared for that.
So what's the reality then? Are there ways to really lessen that tax liability in retirement?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it takes a little bit of planning.
Sure.
You can't just show up at retirement and say, okay, I don't want to pay taxes. That doesn't work that way. But with some proper planning and a little bit of time on your side, you can actually get into that 0% tax bracket. I got to tell you, if you can be in the 0% tax bracket, instead of losing 20 to 30% off the top, if you can get to 0%, imagine when they raise taxes. I don't care, right? 0 is 0.
0 is 0, but you just said 20 to 30%. Dive more into that. What are you talking about losing 20 to 30%?
Well, when we sit down with clients, we're showing them these tax strategies, right? And we're showing them that sometimes an extra dollar, an extra $20 actually results in them paying 40 and 50% tax on that dollar. It's insane.
Wow.
And it has to do with mixing and matching of Social Security, right? Social Security is supposed to be tax-free. Mm-hmm. But if you don't do your job right, 85% of Social Security is taxable. You know, capital gains could be at 15%, but if you don't do your job right, all of a sudden they drop up to 20%. It's insane that a person can make investment recommendations and not understand the tax implications. And most people are paying somewhere between 20 and 30% of their retirement income between federal and state taxes, and that's a silly way to go through retirement.
So Mike, let me ask you this, because I know you've spoken with David and myself a number of times about how people walk into your office for a first appointment and you realize very quickly they've spent years overlooking taxes. Let's talk about what the implication really can be if you just completely disregard your tax situation.
Well, imagine how much more risk you have to take in order to get to the same results that you had before, right?
Sure.
So now I have to take more risk to have the same amount of income. When the markets go sideways, we have to take even more risk to make up for the losses that we have in the markets and the taxes we're paying. This is absolutely a crazy way to do retirement. And if you're not paying attention, and honestly, I blame my industry. I blame my industry on this, because my industry is so focused on helping you grow your money, teaching you how to get assets under and get them bigger and have this big nest egg. But we spend so little time actually explaining to you how to make sure it lasts the rest of your retirement. I mean, you have 20, 30 years of retirement, and you better have a plan to make sure it's there, and giving it to Uncle Sam probably is not in your best interest.
Why do you believe this is such an industry problem?
Well, I think because the very nature of how we work, we get paid to collect assets, and we get paid when the assets grow. Mm-hmm. We don't get paid when the assets disappear, when they go out, right? We don't get paid to give tax advice. And to me, I think that's a disservice. I mean, as a financial planner, I think my job is to make sure that I'm looking out for your best interest.
Sure.
Not the big box that I work for, not the manager that I work for. My job is to make sure that you have the best chance of success during retirement, that you don't run out of money, that when the markets crash, you don't have the problems, you don't suffer the same injuries that most people do, and that we're not paying exorbitant amounts of taxes.
Yeah.
That is not having a successful retirement plan or a successful retirement from my perspective.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, let's talk about what retirement is supposed to look like.
Well, I think it's different for everybody, right? I mean, I joke around that, my vision of retirement has always been, I want to jump on the Winnebago, I have motorcycles, I love doing that stuff, I want to play a lot of golf, and my wife continuously reminds me that we're living next to the daughter-in-law she likes best and hanging out with the grandkids, right? So retirement means different things to different people, right?
Of course.
So I do think that you always have to start with that basic. What does Tuesday look like? Because quite honestly, every day is Saturday now, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have a plan for what am I doing during retirement, and between the honey-do list and the bucket list and the round-to-it list, I mean, there's lots that you're going to be occupied with for the first 6 months or a year, but then you still have another 20 to 30 years to figure out what it's. So I think retirement, you need to understand what you're going to be doing and what it's going to look like. And then you have to really focus on how am I going to make sure I have those income streams. And quite frankly, do I want to absorb the risk of making sure I don't outlet my money, or do I want to pass that risk? Because you do have that choice, right?
Of course.
You can choose to absorb the risk, or you can choose to give it to a pension company or an insurance company, let somebody else absorb the risk. But you have to have a plan. You just can't show up and say, hey, today's Friday, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Absolutely. Some very important information, a strong start to the show, and we're going to dive into a lot more of these retirement topics. But first, for you at home, if you want to learn more about having the right tax plan for your retirement, Mike has a great offer. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $500,000 or greater, he's offering a complimentary full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow Mike and his team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap, analyzing where you are right now and discuss your best steps to really get ready for a successful retirement. It's a game plan to get you where you need to be. The number to call, 321-346-7677. That number, 321-346-7677.
Mike, when we're in our 30s and 40s, risk obviously much more tolerable. As we approach retirement, it's time to get dialed in on exactly how much risk you're taking on, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I know there's that old adage about, buy and hold and it's only paper losses. But, when you're 20, 30, 40, time's on your side.
Yeah.
You have 20, 30, 40 years that you can absorb the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs of the market. But when you get to retirement, when you're 60 years old, think about this. On average, every 7 years, the market drops 40%. Imagine retiring January 1st of 2000 and 13 years, the market went nowhere. And if you're taking out, 3-4% every year and having the losses and sideways market that we did, you are running out of money. And that, you don't want to experience that. Time is not your friend when it comes to the market when you enter into retirement.
Yeah.
Recently, we're dealing with a lot of market volatility. Obviously, some stress can be had for retirees. From those that you work with and for those that are coming through your office doors for the first time, what's the pulse given all this volatility on Wall Street?
Well, I think people are afraid. They're very nervous, and most of the time in their experience, it's been kind of a quick rebound, and so maybe not as much panicking. But now it seems to be a little bit more prolonged, and I think people are a little bit more maybe paying attention to it a little bit more, and recognizing that these ups and downs may actually impact their ability to retire in the time frame that they want. And so what we're seeing is people saying, "Well, I'm going to wait for the market to come back before I retire," and think about that. I am postponing my retirement because I was not advised correctly on how to situate myself in the first place so that I wasn't exposed to a 20, 30, 40% drop. That's not how you should be entering retirement, and that's not how you should be thinking about what do I need to do during retirement. You should be taking the least amount of risk necessary. I hate to say this, if you can get away with all your money in CDs and bonds, not bonds right now, perhaps, but CDs. If you can get away with that, why would you take any risk of the stock market if you don't need the risk? Always take the least amount of risk because you know what? You'll always sleep better at night.
When things seem to keep going up, and we're in the longest bull market run in history, how hard is it to convince someone, psychologically speaking, it's time to make your move?
You need to take the winnings off the table, right? So the reality is that everybody should look at it from this perspective. There's a certain amount of money that you need to set aside to create the income for the things that you have to have during retirement, right? I have to have food on the table. I have to play golf. You have to have utilities. You have to have medical bills. But the reality is I don't have to play golf 3 times a week. I don't have to ride motorcycles. I don't have to drink wine. I don't have to go on vacation. So for the things that you need to have, right, the things that you must have in your life, my perspective is you take that risk off the table. You make that as conservative as possible, using the least amount of money necessary, but you make that money earmarked for just the must-haves in life. And you could take a little bit more risk with the extras, the I wants, the fun money, the play money, because you know what? Quite frankly, if the market's down 30%, fine, don't buy a new car this year.
Sure.
The market's down 40%, maybe you're not taking that around the world vacation. But you still have to have food on the plate, you still have to have a car, you still have to have utilities. Take that risk off the table for that money.
Well, I want to dive deeper into that. What does it really mean, though, to protect your money?
Good question.
Well, for different people, right? So you can buy investment vehicles. You can invest in certain products, right? Products is always kind of a slippery slope. But the fact is that you can choose to hold the risk yourself. You can have your money in stocks and bonds, and you experience the ups and downs, or you can choose to give that risk to somebody else. You can choose to give it to an insurance company, to some sort of pension company that's going to create an income stream that you and your spouse never outlive. Now, do you want to absorb the risk? Do you want to pass that risk on? That's a conversation you should have with your advisor, with your spouse.
Yeah.
Imagine if you sat down with an advisor, right? And you said to him, yeah, I have an income stream that's guaranteed for the rest of my life. And your spouse looked at you and said, well, that's great, we're taken care of. And he looked at you and said, oh no, it's only for me, it doesn't cover you. That would be a problem, right?
Yes.
But why are you not protecting you and your spouse, or significant other for that matter, for the rest of your life? It does not make sense to take that risk on when you don't need to.
So let me ask you this, though, because I think a lot of people hear this and they think, okay, that's well and good, but am I overlooking growth? How do you respond to that?
Well, absolutely. You have to take into account growth. And I mean, think about some of the inflationary pressures we've seen recently. I mean, maybe that's a harder number to track to be able to have that type of growth. But that's why I said from the get-go, set aside enough money to cover your needs, but you need to have enough money to cover the inflation factors, the oopses in life, the extras in life, and the emergencies in life, because you know what? They come in. Your kids are always your kids, right?
Yeah.
Your grandkids are always going to be your grandkids. And so you want to have a little bit of money set aside to accommodate those extras that are going to inevitably come around. But it doesn't mean that you don't set aside enough money in the first place to make sure that your income needs are always going to be met. I mean, the worst thing you can experience during your retirement is running out of money. And you've worked all these years and you've made smart money choices to build that nest egg. You didn't build it to lose 40%. You didn't build it to leave it to the kids. You built it to take care of yourself during retirement. Well, make the smart decisions and take care of yourself. Put yourself in a situation where you are not going to risk losing the money that you need to have the retirement you dream of.
You touched on inflation, and then I want to go back to something you just said a moment ago, that some people will say, oh, I'll just wait for the market to climb back up again before I'm really ready for retirement. If you have to wait for the perfect time to retire, is that really a retirement plan?
Well, you know, when I got out of stock picking school, right? I went to stock picking school and they gave me a little crystal ball.
Okay.
And I used to be able to shake it every single day and it would tell me exactly what was going to happen, the exact date the market was going to go up and the exact date the market was going to go down. And then bring your kid to work day. Man, my kid knocked it off. Now it says yes, no, maybe. So I don't know how to time the market. And maybe there are people out there that are smarter than I am and know exactly when to get in and when to get out. All I know is that you've worked hard your whole life. You want to have a retirement that you dreamed of. Why are you going to jeopardize that and risk that for you, your spouse, your family? Why not enjoy the fruits of your labor? Position yourself in the most risk-adverse positions you can get into so that you have the income. That makes perfect sense to me.
Awesome. So that said, if you don't have a crystal ball at home, much like us, the time to act is now. If you want to learn more about having a protected growth strategy for your retirement, Mike has a great offer. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $500,000 or greater, he's offering a complimentary full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow Mike and his team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap analyzing where you are right now and discuss your best steps to really get ready for a successful retirement. Listen up, the number to call right now, 321-346-7677. Once again, that number, 321-346-7677.
Mike, we've touched on income, and I think that's something we need to focus on right now, because retirement, it's an interesting situation, right? Because that paycheck that we've counted on for decades, it's no longer there. But guess what still follows us into retirement? The bills.
That's right.
How do we go about handling this?
Well, you have to have a paycheck replacement plan, right? I mean, you have to have something in place to have that income stream coming back in, right? And to some extent, just like that paycheck was steady and secure every month or every 2 weeks probably, you probably want to have something consistent. And contrary to popular belief, you don't need less money during retirement. Between the honey-do list, the bucket list, and the round-to-it list, our experience is you're going to actually spend more money in the first 8 to 10 years of retirement.
Really?
It might taper off at some point, but you don't need less money during retirement. You need as much. I mean, you absolutely need to have that income stream coming in. Most people are going to have Social Security, which is nice, and everybody likes that security of knowing Social Security is going to be there. Notwithstanding, Social Security is going to run out of money, but they like that steady stream of income from Social Security. They like the fact if they have a pension, people really truly enjoy the fact that they're getting a paycheck every month from Social Security. If they're fortunate enough to have Social Security, they get a paycheck every month. The real dilemma you have is how are you going to create that missing, that third leg, so to speak, of your income stream that you need. You have to figure out, you have to have a plan that says, I know every single month I'm going to get X amount of money deposited into my checking account because my bills require X. And if you don't have that plan, you should plan to fail, right? I mean, you don't want to go through retirement not knowing exactly where your money's coming from.
You just mentioned Social Security, a pension. How frequently do you find that people ask you, is this going to be enough to get me to and through retirement?
Well, I think most people actually know it's not going to be enough, right? I mean, the Social Security, everybody feels comfortable about it. In their mind, they paid into it and they're going to get this steady stream. Originally when Social Security came out, it was supposed to be tax-free, and then Reagan taxed 50% of it, and Clinton made 85% taxable. So we are losing a bunch of Social Security to taxes now, which is nobody planned on that. But they like having that Social Security. It's a nice stream of income. most people today actually don't have those pensions anymore, right?
Yeah.
Companies and
So
corporate
rare.
America, right, and corporate America and the government has basically transferred the risk of your own retirement to you. You have to save for your retirement. So for most people, Social Security is not enough. If you have a pension, it might come close, but most people are going to need some income generated from their investments. And quite frankly, that's what you saved the money for in the first place, to make sure you had the income you need and the resources you needed during retirement. So figure out a way to get it out to you as risk-free as possible.
Yeah.
How often do you find retirees unaware that they can have multiple streams of income in retirement?
They have no idea what their income is going to be. They have no idea where it's going to come from. They literally show up on Tuesday afternoon and say, I'm retiring on Friday. Do I have enough money?
Okay.
And that just makes absolutely no sense. There is no successful business. There's no successful sports organization. You can't succeed just showing up saying, I'm done and I'm ready to go, and let's see what I have and what can I do with it. You actually have to be able to sit down, have that conversation with your spouse or your family. What's retirement going to look like? What am I going to do? Let's play a budget. Let's play what the money's going to look like. What am I going to need? And then figure out, here's my income sources. Here's my Social Security. Am I fortunate enough to have that pension? But again, goes back to that third leg of money, that third bucket of money. How am I going to produce the income I need? Am I going to use stocks and bonds? Am I going to use preferred stocks? Am I going to do CD ladders? Am I going to use annuities? I mean, there's only so many sources of income streams that you can create, but you have to have a plan that says, this is going to accomplish my income goals, and I know I will never run out of money. I think that is the most important thing, making sure that no matter what, the income is always there.
Fair to say annuities have gotten a bad rap over the years?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about how they've evolved for a second.
Right. Well, I mean, if you think about it, the original pensions are annuities. That's exactly what a pension is. It's a form of annuity. And Tia Kreff came out with them, I don't know, in the 1920s, something like that. And people loved them. And then, I don't know, 70s and 80s, the federal government and employers said, we don't want the responsibility, right? Because they don't want to take the onus of your own retirement. They want to pass it on to you. So people don't like annuities for very good reasons. You know, sometimes they're very expensive. They might be 4 or 5% to own. Sometimes people don't like them because they don't feel like they can make enough money, because they certainly don't make stock market returns, not with the fees associated with them. Their money's tied up. Sometimes you can't get your money out for 10 or 12 years. But here's the reality, folks. If in fact you're going to put money into the stock market or buy an annuity or use preferred stocks or wherever you're creating that bucket of money to create that income stream, you can't touch that for anything but income anyways. Because let's say you need $1 million. Let's just use that as an example. You need $1 million in a bucket of money. You can't take $100,000 out of that and go do a widget or a thingamajig, because it's no longer going to create the income stream that you need because you put $1 million to create it. So I don't care that an annuity says you can't touch your money for 10 years. If you want to transfer your risk to somebody else and not absorb that risk, like pensions and Social Security, give it to an annuity company. Understand the risk, understand the rules, but that's a safe source of income for you if you want to transfer that risk.
How important is it to think about as well with your income, because you can take care of the necessities as we've touched on, but to have a spending plan to do all the things you want to do?
Well, you have to, right? I mean, we've talked about that. You have to have a retirement plan, you have to have an income plan, and you actually have to understand what your retirement's going to look like. You have to know that I want to play golf, I want to travel, I want to garden, I want to do whatever it is I'm going to do. You have to understand those things because life costs money, right? It costs money, and you need to have yourself in a position, and you need to understand where your income's going to come from, and you need to understand how you're going to budget for it. And again, as I've said earlier, 2 buckets of money really make sense to me. A bucket of money for income purposes, and then a bucket of money for all those extras, the wants and the honey-do list and the grandkids or whatever it happens to be. Have a bucket of money for that so you can have all the flexibility you need, which is why, of course, whatever money you need to live on, it should be the least amount possible, right? Don't put $1 million into an annuity or stock portfolio because you can. Put it in there because that's the right amount of money to create the income that you need.
Let's circle back to the top of the show real quick. Getting back to taxes for a moment, what role should taxes play in all of this?
I don't understand how anybody can actually have a retirement plan, have an intelligent conversation about retirement without addressing taxes. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is most people sit down with an advisor of some sort, and he talks to him or she talks to him about how to create income and how to allocate your assets. And when you ask about taxes, no, that's not my job. Go talk to the CPA. And you know, I love CPAs. We have some very good CPAs that work for us. But the fact is they are mostly historians. They put numbers on a page, do a tax return for you, but they're not very prospective looking. They don't really focus on how to save taxes in the future for most people. And God forbid if you have a question about estate planning, again, not my job, go talk to somebody else. I think a true financial planning firm can bring everything together for you so that everybody is rowing in the same direction.
Yeah.
Your tax plan is in working with your income plan, that's working with your investment plan, that's working with your estate plan, that's working with your legacy plan. You want somebody who's going to quarterback that whole situation and make sure all the pieces are working together. And unfortunately, more often than not, the advisor, he runs in his lane and she doesn't look at anything else but this. The CPA runs in his lane and she doesn't look at anything else but this. And the attorney runs in his lane and she doesn't look at anything else. And I think that's a mistake. I think that's doomed to failure.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to have your team in place, the right team for a successful retirement. So for you at home, if you want to learn more about preparing for that successful retirement, Mike has a great offer. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $500,000 or greater, he's offering a complimentary, full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow Mike and his team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap, analyzing where you are right now and discuss your best steps to really get ready for a successful retirement. The number to call, 321-346-7677. That number, 321-346-7677.
Mike, you were just talking about how important you feel it is for your team to all be working together under one roof. This is actually a conclusion you drew when you were just out of law school, right?
Yeah, it was interesting. I came out of law school, I worked for a law firm for a little while, and I noticed that the clients that were coming in that we're doing estate planning for, that their tax implications of what they were doing, they didn't have any clue about how taxable mutual funds are, for example. They didn't understand the tax implications of when they were leaving money to their heirs. And so I started to delve into the tax issues, and I got my master's degree in tax. And then that kind of led me into helping clients with the investment side of things to make sure that literally all the pieces were fitting together, because when they came to see me as an attorney, when I first came out of law school, it was 100%, well, my investment advisor said to do this, and we would ask them, what are the tax implications? You need to look at that and talk to them about it. My investment advisor said he can't give me investment advice, or excuse me, tax advice. Go talk to the CPA. And to me, that made no sense. So when I left the law practice and got into the investment world, I made the decision that if I was going to be successful, if I was going to do the things that I thought were in your best interest as my clients, I did not think that I could just give you investment advice without addressing the tax implications, without addressing the estate planning implications, and all the things that basically entail the dollar signs in your life.
Mike, that's what motivated you then to get into this. Today, what motivates you to get up every day and help retirees prepare for a successful retirement?
You know, honest to gosh, I know it sounds kind of silly, but I still enjoy looking at a plan and putting it together. I enjoy the creativity of that. But really what it is that when you see that client a year, 18 months later, and the plan is working, and it's doing exactly what you said it's going to do, and you see on their face that they're relieved that it really turned out, because quite frankly, it's a leap of faith. I mean, anytime you hire somebody like me or an advisor, it's a leap of faith that they're going to do the right thing. But to see the results pan out the way you designed it and watch them actually live that retirement, that is an incredible experience. I mean, maybe not the same as delivering a baby and bringing a life into it, but you are literally, you are literally bringing somebody through retirement, and that's an incredible feeling to be successful, to be able to walk them through that.
Mike, you have shared with us in the past that you have family members and extended family who have struggled in retirement, and that has inspired you to put your clients in a spot where they should never have to go through that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my background is the 3-part movie of the week, right? Yeah. You know, I mean, I grew up in foster care. I was in children's shelter. I was the kid they sponsored for Christmas. You know, to this day, my wife and I help other family members out because they did not make the sound decisions. They were not given the financial education that I was given, that I took upon myself to learn. Yeah. And I never wanted my family. I wanted us to be in a different position, and I wanted to be able to share that with the people that are important to me, which is my family, right? Yeah. That's what we all do at the end of the day. And that is where it led me to wanting to go to law school, to wanting to do the tax stuff, to wanting to actually make sure that my family and my extended family are all in good shape. And I got to tell you, man, my brothers and sisters, we're all in pretty good shape today.
Yeah.
It's great.
Inspiring.
And a lot of clients are as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic information. We really appreciate you being so transparent about it. So for you at home, if you want to see if you're really ready for retirement, Mike has a great offer. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $500,000 or greater, he's offering a complimentary full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow Mike and his team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap, analyzing where you are right now and discuss your best steps to really get ready for a successful retirement. The number to call, 321-346-7677. That number, 321-346-7677.
Mike, I've heard you say the plan has to change because life changes. What does it mean to have a solid retirement plan?
Well, I think what happens is you create the plan to start, right?
Yeah.
On all the things that we talked about. But then on a regular basis, at least once a year, you need to reevaluate the plan to make sure it's still moving in the same direction. Are the income needs still being met? Are you still taking the right amount of risk for the rewards you're getting? Are the taxes working out the way? Is the estate planning? Everything needs to plan together.
Why do you believe tax planning is the foundation for a successful retirement?
20 to 30%, taxes are going up. Lose 20 to 30% off the top, and taxes are going up. That's a silly way to do it. Do
Absolutely.
not pay those taxes when you don't have
Change your retirement for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Avoiding big losses. How do we protect ourselves?
Well, you can stick your head in the sand and hope for the best, right?
We've seen people do
It hasn't worked for me.
So I think what you have to do is, again, you set aside a certain amount of money that you need to live on. You make that as risk-free as possible, as conservative as possible to create the income streams that you need. And then you can absorb some of the growth and some of the risks associated with growth. There's nothing wrong with taking a little bit of risk as long as it's not the money you need to pay your day-to-day bills.
Again, I think we need to emphasize on this. When people hear protect their money or take risk off the table, that does not mean you're forfeiting growth.
No, absolutely. I mean, the reality is that you can still earn 4 to 6%, which is reasonable rates of return. And I would argue over the last 20 plus years, 4 to 6% is what the returns have been in the Dow and the S&P.
Yeah.
People think in their minds, because the last 10 years have been such a great bull run, that that's the norm. That is not the norm. You take out 82 to 99 and you take out 2009 to 2020, markets are completely different. You're talking 3-4% returns.
And income planning. Mike, why do you recommend multiple sources?
I think everybody understands diversifying risk.
Yeah.
Why would you not diversify your income plan, right? Have a little bit of income coming from multiple sources, and if something gets a little bit more volatile or topsy-turvy, you still have the other sources of income coming in on a regular basis. Diversify your income, diversify your risk.
All of this being said, you have something very special for our viewers watching at home.
That's right. For the next 5 callers that have saved $500,000 or more for retirement, I'd like to invite them into the office where I'll sit down with them personally to help them create their very own retirement plan. And Mallory, David, I will do this on a complimentary basis.
And that really is a great opportunity that should not be missed. Once again, for you at home, if you want to learn more about getting to and through retirement, Mike has a great offer for you. Right now, for the first 5 callers with a portfolio of $500,000 or greater, he's offering a complimentary full-blown retirement plan just for you. This will allow Mike and his team to sit down with you personally and provide you with a roadmap analyzing where you are right now and discuss your best steps to really get ready for a successful retirement. The number to call right now, 321-346-7677. Once again, that number, 321-346-7677.
For all of us at the Finance Report, thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you back here next time.